It's going to be a big year all round. We know that they've got, Pluto's making some moves. And if you attended the New Year webinar, or, if you've been keeping an eye on stuff and all of the astrological movements, we know that things are shifting this year. So obviously that can cause some kind of anticipation in terms of our relationships and our love lives and our hearts. And things aren't easy. I think this is why me and Priya were really looking forward to doing this, because we've both had experience of relationships which are good and relationships which are really not healthy, or gone through really hard times and suffered heartbreak. So we get it because we've been there, and I think that's why we really were looking forward to being able to share with you a bit of guidance from the stars in terms of what we can expect and what to look out for. If you've got a bit of knowledge and a bit of a heads up, you can be aware of your reactions. And when we're more aware of our reactions, we tend to navigate tricky situations better, because it's about knowing yourself and loving yourself. That relationship with yourself comes first. I think that's basically my stance on this, just to kind of give you a bit of background in terms of how I approach working with relationships through astrology. Somebody's asking me about love for Cancerians in 2024, and I have to tell you, I'm a Cancerian, so that's tricky. Always harder to answer for your own sign. So I'm going to put it to Priya when she gets here, and we'll swap, and I'll try and do Taurus. But if she's not able to answer, I have had a look at the forecast for Cancerian. It's just harder to predict for yourself. Always harder. So I'll make a start and just talk you through some of the things that are going to be happening in 2024 and what's coming up. And this week, obviously, we have Valentine's Day. And actually, astrologically, Valentine's Day doesn't really necessarily mean anything. However, this year on the 14th, we have got Mars and Pluto conjoining. And so they are in the same sign at the same point in the zodiac, which means that they are acting as one. They're unified. And this is a rare event. It's incredibly rare, actually. This hasn't happened in the sign of Aquarius for hundreds of years, which makes it potent, not just for our relationships, but that's how we'll notice it on a personal level. But, this is about big shifts on a global scale. In our personal lives, we're likely to feel this in terms of our drive and our willpower being amplified, but also Pluto works in the shadows. So this is really about things coming up to the surface, especially acting upon truth. And that, I think, this conjunction is really going to bring out in everybody and in relationships. Some astrologers have discussed how this is activating our passions, and it's also our sex drive. So Mars rules willpower, but it also rules over our physical sex. And that means that Pluto being involved there, it could, and especially in Aquarius, it's probably going to open things up in terms of our expressions, and also having the guts, I think, to be able to make that happen for ourselves. So that's exciting. More exciting, I think, actually, is Venus's conjunction with Pluto, which is on the 17th, so a few days after Valentine's Day, but in the week. This conjunction is really speaking to us about independence, about what it is that we need in relationships, the freedom to be ourselves, to be our authentic selves in relationships, and to have our needs met. This is really bringing that to the surface in this Valentine's week, which is just so interesting. Pluto's conjunction with Venus, which is happening this week, is going to happen again at the back end of the year on the 7th of December, which is just after Mars is going to move retrograde. So really, this is about a cycle of change. Pluto is all about bringing changes up to the surface. It's bringing what needs to be transformed up for us so that we can transform it and re-empower ourselves. So this conjunction with Venus is absolutely key for our love lives. This is all about owning what is important to us, our needs, and our hidden deepest desires, connecting with that truth, and being brave enough to make it happen. So what else can I tell you about that? This cycle is definitely highlighting our need for independence and freedom within relationships, and also it is speaking to us of a chance for a rebirth and for new connections. So this is like a cyclical change thing. It's like what comes up this week will come up again in December, around the 7th of December. So be aware of that as we track through the year in terms of looking at patterns in your relationships, like what keeps coming back, what needs addressing. Venus and Pluto are working to bring that up to the surface, but this is healing, and it's potentially a real point of reset, either for a relationship that is going to stick around, or there is potential there for something new to start, and something new to start which is really about honoring our authenticity. It's about loving ourselves and being in a relationship and being loved for who we really truly are. You know, that's the vibe of this connection. This Pluto involvement here, and in Aquarius as well, is it's quite clear thinking. And I think that's a theme for all signs this year, is that we are really going to see people evaluating relationships on their merits and being able to analyze them to see what's really working for them. And actually, that can be very empowering, because when we take a step back, you know, when we're in love or we are dealing with falling out of love, things get really cloudy quite quickly because we're acting with emotion, and Aquarius takes us away from that space so that we really become a bit more analytical. We get a bit of distance, and this is why relationships are going to go and undergo this huge transformation this year, because Pluto is really going to be hitting points for all signs, not just fixed signs. Pluto has been in Capricorn for an era, and we have seen some heavy stuff be dragged up. And actually, there's reason to believe that this is a shift towards moving to a kind of lighter way of engaging with this stuff. It's about freedom and letting go of what doesn't need to be carried anymore, you know, and there's a rationality there which can really help with relationships. Sometimes we need a bit of clarity and distance and able to kind of evaluate what it is that we need. Is this working for me? Is it not? And, you know, if it's not, let's change it. Pluto pushes for change. It demands transformation. It demands us to transform ourselves on a personal level, and also that situations transform themselves. So it's like, unless we challenge ourselves to do that, the situations will force us to. So there's a real theme this year, especially because of what Uranus is going to be doing, which I'm going to try and hold off on a little bit because I know Priya's got some amazing insights to this. So I'm hoping that, you know, she's going to come in a couple of minutes. I'm trying not to allude too much to what Uranus is doing soon, but there's a real theme here about a shift towards liberation and independence and freedom, and also just like clarity. And I think sometimes that's what we need. The worst thing to be in any kind of relationship or love matches is confused, right? Nobody wants to feel confused about their partner or about what they need or what they're looking for. And I think that clarity is coming for a lot of us this year, which is going to be potentially, it's disruptive, right? Because if we're seeing things with fresh eyes, we might see something that we have to then deal with. But ultimately, this is very freeing and it's very healing. This is, if we work with it and with the planets this year, we can make some real positive connections for our future and transform the relationships that we have so that they really work for us and that we feel loved and fulfilled. Like that's what we deserve, right? And we've talked a lot about Pluto, and this is coming for this week, but it's also like this is long-term changes that I'm talking about. The other thing that we really need to be looking at in terms of what else is happening this year and how we can be aware of working with that energy in terms of our love life, we are going to be having a little bit of a look at this conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus, because this is a huge event as well. This is going to have major repercussions for all of our relationships, and it's totally going to have this groundbreaking effect. Somebody's just asked me there, and I think it's relevant. Do these transits have an effect on the global political situation? Yes, absolutely they do. But this particular webinar is about love, so I will address those. Feel free to kind of discuss that. We might hopefully look at another event where we talk about other things. We did touch on quite a lot of that in my New Year webinar at the start, where we looked at these transits in 2024 and what was happening. And yes, there is huge huge repercussions from these transits. But what we're trying to drill down to is like, these are generational planets, right? So Pluto and Uranus and Jupiter and Saturn are all like, these are the planets that move slowest, whereas we have the personal planets in astrology which really affect our day-to-day life. That's Mercury, Venus and Mars, and the luminaries, so the sun and the moon. And that's what we talk about in our personal lives. When the bigger planets move, though, we tend to see bigger impact, and that's what impacts big global politics and zeitgeists effectively. Whereas these planets also have an effect on our personal lives, though. And it's easy to kind of think, oh, well, you know, Uranus, it's just about, you know, elections, things like that, or whatever. Or this Jupiter Uranus connection is going to bring up stuff in, you know, potential. There's been sort of talk amongst astrologers and things about masculine energy and warmongering, and everybody's very, you know, rightly scared and worried about the situations in the world. But these transits have a huge effect on our personal lives as well. And when they move, we tend to see bigger events in our own life. I mean, if you think back, for example, to the last time that Jupiter and Uranus connected and formed this conjunction, which is what they're going to do in April again this year, it was like 2011, 2010, 2011. There was a couple of times. And if you kind of think back to your relationships at that point, a lot of people went through really big shifts. It's not always breakups, it's not always new beginnings, but it's a shift in your consciousness, right? Because these are sparking off questions when they connect with your personal planets and your personal transits and your natal chart. You have certain things come up in your life, and it's like a learning process. So this is why we look at it as astrologers in terms of, okay, what can we kind of expect here? You know, Uranus is going to connect with, for example, if I was looking at your individual chart, we would see, okay, Uranus is going to connect potentially with your Venus, or it's going to aspect your Mars, or it's going to connect with your Sun. And that's how we tell when big changes are going to be coming in your life, and we can kind of start to predict that on a one-to-one level. But yeah, 100% they have a huge impact. Somebody's just asked me there, is it a good year for Libras? Yes, it's a good year for Libras. I'll talk a little bit more about this conjunction because first, and then I'll go through the signs so that you can kind of get a flavor of what we can expect in terms of relationships. Transits in April and connections in April is that we have got this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, and we have also got an eclipse. And this is really about a personal level, and in terms of our relationships, this is about it being a wake-up call, right? This is all about looking at what works, what doesn't, what we really want, and it's going to help us see what is really valuable. Part of that, because it's Uranus, may be quite shocking. We can expect some surprises in April, things to kind of come up in our lives and bubble up to the surface, and kind of an illumination of issues that we have, and to be able to see the way the land lies in our relationships and our personal lives, right? Okay, it's a chance to really see where things are at, and also for us to really see what's possible. So the good part about this is that, you know, really we're only ever going to be shocked if we are in some state of denial. And if we're living in a state of denial, we're not really living. So in terms of our relationships, you know, it's not healthy to be in a relationship where we're having to kind of pretend or wish for somebody to be something that they're actually not, right? In a partnership, it's like sometimes we meet somebody and they're right for us at one point, but as we grow and develop and evolve, we want to cling on to that illusion of this person still being right for us. And this is what's going to be cleared in April. You know, there's going to be no chance, I don't think, for hiding. So I think things are going to be very clear, which can be quite painful if things are coming up and that need dealing with. But ultimately, this is good for us because it gives us a chance to have an absolute, authentic, fresh start. A chance for us to look at our relationships and take the parts which are working and improve them and work on them, and, you know, what we need to hold on to, and also to let go of things which are not serving us anymore. We also have this situation at this point in April, at the same point that Jupiter and Uranus are conjoining. We've got Venus and Mars in mutual reception, which means they are in each other's signs. And that creates some tension. So there is a real process for relationships and for people who are in love to kind of have a bit of a reckoning moment and a bit of a tug of war in terms of like what the heart wants, what the head wants, and tussle that out. But ultimately that's going to be positive as well, because it really does indicate that there's a chance for things moving forwards collaboratively and for compromises to be reached. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the signs, what the vibe or the outlook is for that sign as we move through 2024. So we'll start with Aries. Is anybody here who's an Aries? I want to drop a little note in the question and answer. I don't want to spend more time on any one sign, but if we've got loads of people who are one sign or another, it'd be really interesting. I see somebody sticking their hand up being an Aries. Okay, good. Aries is absolutely destined for a huge year this year. And I'm not talking about love life. I mean, the thing is, this is what I kind of predicted for Aries, is that they are going to be so busy with so many fingers and so many pies. It's almost like their love life is going to take a little bit of a backseat. But actually, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that they haven't got time for people who are going to mess them around, or who aren't going to deliver what they say they're going to deliver, or who are going to be holding them back from taking opportunities. This is a real year where Aries need freedom in their relationships. If they're in an existing partnership, they're going to need space to be able to go out and make things happen, because they're going to feel extremely motivated to do that. And if they're looking for love, they're going to find that it's going to find them, but it needs to find them on their terms. And that is in the gaps in between when everything else is happening, because Aries are going to be busy this year, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just about quality over, real quality time. And that needs to be a priority for Aries. It's like, if they've got a relationship that they're nurturing, they need to really make time for it. It would be very easy for things to get pushed to the sides and lose sight of priorities. So they need to definitely make time for things that they want to prioritize. And also, they're going to know what's worth prioritizing, because they're going to be so busy that if love is there demanding to be loved, it's going to pop up for them in between and make itself known and draw their attention away from everything else that's keeping them so distracted. I've just had a question that, is it a good idea for Aries to get married this year? Depends on the Aries. A question about marriage depends so heavily. That needs a synastry chart. So really it should be about the partnership. So both people's horoscopes should be looked at in terms of their natal charts and the compatibility. And then you can, this is elective astrology, so you can look at the right date or the right time for that to happen. Generally speaking, if it's right for every sign. Is it a good idea for Aries to get married this year? I hate being just too generic, but yes, depending on the time. Aries, for an Aries and a Leo. Okay, I'm getting some more specifics here. Is it a good idea for an Aries and a Leo to get married this year, both with Aquarian moons? Okay, yes. Yeah, this is more detail. Still feel like I still want to look at the charts before I commit to an answer. But yes, I definitely see that there could be real potential for that to be a positive outcome, 100%, especially with the Aquarius moons. Whenever somebody has got the same moon sign, they find a sense of companionship. And we'll move on and have a little look at Taurus and the outlook for Taurus. Sorry, that's my phone. It's just Priya ringing. I'm just going to see if I can get her in, because she's going to be so good at answering some of these questions. I'm just going to mute myself while I answer too. Sorry, that's my tech issues. I'm good at astrology and less good at pressing the right buttons on Zoom. So thank you for bearing with me and for your patience. Priya is just logging in now and joining, so she'll be able to hop in here as well, which is great. I'm gonna go back to some of these questions just before we talk about the next side, so that we don't get lost. So we've got Rob asking me. Rob is a Sagittarius. Had a separation in 2022. Currently have a friend, okay, with a mutual benefits. And I think he's asking, she's fallen in love with me. She's a Leo. And he doesn't feel the same way. She is aware. Am I going to meet the right person? Okay, Sagittarius. Yes, I think that Sagittarius has got a good outlook for things changing. And yes, there definitely is potential for you to meet the right person this year. I think you're going to feel, Jupiter entering Gemini for Sagittarius this year is going to be a huge event and create, I think, a lot of changes there. Priya, I can't see you. Have you got your camera on?
I'm so sorry. By the way, hello everyone who's in here. I didn't mean to be late. There was a timing mix up. I had the time
Yeah.
wrong, so I apologize.
I think it was probably partly my fault. Priya's based in the US, and obviously I'm in the UK, and I think we've had a bit of crossed wires in terms of organizing it and the timing. So I apologize too about that.
And Jemima, I don't think I have a camera option here. So I think it's
Okay,
because of the link I had.
no
Uh,
problem. We'll
but well, what I would like to add, I might as well just speak. You can be on
go
camera,
for
that's
it.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you for being here on a Sunday early morning, if wherever you are. But I just wanted to add to what Jemima was saying as far as Sagittarius. Jupiter entering Gemini at the end of May. You've got 1 year of Jupiter in Gemini, which for Sagittarius is your opposite sign, and that's when that's happens once in 12 years. And when that happens, it's a time when you tend to meet a significant other, or if you are in a relationship, it could definitely move to the next level. So yes, good news for Sagittarians for sure.
100%. I think it's going to feel exciting for Sagittarius this year, as you know, and Gemini's too with this transit. You know, there's a sense of excitement and a like, okay, who am I going to meet? What is going to happen? Because they're kind of hungry for it, I think, as well, which is
Yeah,
good.
Jupiter's been in Taurus for a while, so yes.
Exactly right. So I've just been chatting through like the general moves of the year, Priya, just to kind of catch you
Yes.
up, and then we've talked a little bit about Aquarius. No, we haven't. Aries, sorry. We've talked a little bit about Aries and what Aries can expect this year in terms of their relationship. Just about to say before you called is that Venus is going to enter Aries from the 5th of April.
Yeah.
And I think as the other thing that I wanted to mention about Aries is that there's like a chance for power balance to be sort of reconsidered here. You
Yes.
know, there's definitely some questions about who has power in relationships and who needs it. And you know, there's a bit of a tussling there this year in terms of reevaluating, getting those feet back on the right footing for a healthy
Absolutely.
relationship. If we want to, do you want to talk about Taurus? I
I
swerved a
mean,
question
sure.
right at the begining because somebody asked me,
Sure.
"Is it a good year for Cancer?" And I said, "Oh, I hate answering things about my own sign." It's totally up to you. I can
Okay.
cover Taurus, or if you want to talk about Taurus this year, please go ahead and you can do Taurus.
Sure, I can jump in with a little bit about Taurus. I don't know if Jemima said this before I came in, but Venus is now in Capricorn, and Venus is about to enter Aquarius in a few days, and we'll meet Pluto on the 17th. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, so anything Venus does is significant for Taurus. And of course, we know Venus is the planet of love and beauty and relationships. So, you know, this is going to play out for everybody, all signs in some respect. For Taurus, and what's significant about this conjunction is it happens on the 17th, and then Venus will go all around the zodiac. So she will go through all the signs. So everybody gets a little taste of Venus before she returns to Pluto and Aquarius on the 7th of December. And so pay attention to what's happening in your life right now, whatever your sign is, especially in love and relationships, because we'll be coming full circle from these situations by the 7th of December. And what's happening right now is we're really being asked to take a good hard look at our relationships and how we relate, and you know what our expectations are of others in our life and what expectations we have of ourselves. And you know, it's time to let go of a lot of expectations. So for Taurus, I think, you know, this conjunction, I'll try to focus on that. It takes place in your 10th house, which, you know, for you, I think Taurus, you're learning how to like let go of your mask and really come out of your shell and there's so many different sides to Taurus. People don't often see that. And I think even in love, it's, you try not putting people on pedestals, but have that equal respect. I think respect is important for Taurus in relationships this year. Feeling respected and being able to give that equal respect to others. Jemima, would you like to add something? I don't know if that was.
No, I think, I completely agree with everything you're saying there. I think as well, like for Taurus, it can be hard in relationships to, for space to be, to be given and to be demanded when they need it, right? And I think for Taurians this year, because this Venus transit is in Aquarius, it's about that kind of discovering independence for themselves, which is necessary for a healthy relationship, and being, I think, brave enough to give it in relationships as well, so that ultimately that's going to create a better, more healthy dynamic in relationships. So this is good positive movement in terms of that that transformation, that element of Pluto being able, it's empowering for Taurus. I think these conjunctions.
Taurus doesn't like change, but this year I think Taurus is learning to dance with that change. Partners evolve, let relationships evolve, allow there to be space. But yes,
Venus is in Taurus from the 29th of April,
and the full moon in Scorpio on the 23rd of April will also illuminate Taurus's relationships. So watch for that.
There's a conjunction there, I think, as well, between, is that Jupiter and Venus?
Well, Jupiter and Uranus will have just made that conjunction on the 21st, and then Mars and Neptune are moving to a conjunction. So at the time for Taurus, yes, your relationships are coming to light. There could be confusion, but it's more about you finding clarity on how you feel,
Yeah.
If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. So just remember, nothing's
I like
perfect.
that. That's a great message. Okay, let's go on to Gemini and talk a little bit about what Gemini can expect this year. When I was looking at, so Gemini has its visit from Venus at the same time as Jupiter moves into the sign as well, right? So Venus moves into Gemini from the 23rd of May and Jupiter moves in on the 25th. So the end of May is hugely significant for Geminis this year in terms of a springboard. And when we're looking at their relationships for Geminis, it's like, this is, I think, going to really be amplified with Venus in the sign and Jupiter moved there. That's what Jupiter does, it amplifies the other planets, right? So Venus being there, it's like the spotlight and the focus is going to be on Geminis this year. I mean, I made a TikTok video when I was doing the year ahead ones, and Gemini, and I very, very glossed over sort of lots of it. I was like, this is going to be a great year for Geminis, and I stand by it. It's very hard when you tell a whole 12th of the population they're about to have a great year, because you really have to be accountable for that on some level. But I stand by it. There is huge, great changes here, and Gemini does well with changes. So I think this is really exciting stuff for Geminis. I think they're really going to find, not just new starts, but like a new
perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Like a new perspective and new things coming in that kind of stir things up and keep things exciting, like I'm excited for Geminis this year.
Well, it's true. What I will add about Gemini and Jupiter and Gemini is, and I have Jupiter and Gemini natally in my chart, but
do you?
Yes. So see, Gemini is about duality, right? So people always, especially when I'm doing consultations, anytime I'm reading for a Gemini, they'll be like, oh, is that good or bad? Gemini is the sign of duality. So they tend to see life in, that dual terms. Is this good or bad? Pros and cons. And Jupiter is now asking you to go beyond that, duality of things and see beyond. Like sometimes, we don't, something happens and we think it's bad. And then later we realize, oh, that was a blessing in disguise, So whatever you're seeing with Jupiter and Gemini, the contrast of life will be heightened. So it will feel like the good is really good and the bad is really bad. But us recognizing that that's a matter of perspective. So especially for Geminis itself, it's having that perspective, and any relationships that are in your life, recognizing people are not good or bad.
Yeah.
Or everything in between. And it's, how we see things. It's beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Doesn't mean you put up with bullshit, but you can, make choices. Like you can
Yeah.
see all sides of a situation and then make a choice about someone or something, not be blinded by your own, projections of people.
Yeah, I
So,
totally agree. I love that. And I think the other thing for Geminis is that they're good at kind of rolling with those punches. And I think,
yes,
it's about, and for all of us actually, when Jupiter is in Gemini in that sign, and you're totally right, like really amplifying the highs as being high and the lows as being low. But contrast is what gives us gratitude often. It's
yeah,
like you can't be grateful, you can't know joy unless you have also
yes,
experienced the other side of that coin. And
right,
and it's about that range of perspective. So it's acceptance, I think,
yes,
and learning
yes,
acceptance of going, okay, yeah, this is hard. There are times, life's never easy for anybody. Relationships are never easy. They're not supposed to be, right? They're supposed to help us to grow and develop. And ultimately, when we have got the lows, it means that we can experience those highs when they come and know them and be in them and be grateful for them. So it's like,
and
even when it's tough, this is good for us. It's just about learning, how to really ride that wave. And I think that's for Geminis this year, they're going to really
and
thrive.
yeah, not to go on about Gemini's because we need to keep moving,
Yeah,
but
I know.
no, Jupiter will, without getting too technical, will make a square to Saturn as it enters Gemini. So there is some of this exuberance that's being tempered, where we're being asked to like check our limits, and okay, there will be some difficult choices that need to be made. Gemini, Sagittarius, in terms of your relationships, for sure. But again, it's having that sense of perspective, finding inner growth. These are growing pains. That's what I would say.
Yeah, agreed. I love that. So we actually had somebody ask, is it going to be a good year for Cancerians? And as we're
Okay.
moving on to Cancer next, I think if
Yes.
you want to talk a little bit about what's coming up for Cancer and love for Cancer. And then there's actually another question that's been asked for about a Cancerian. So I'll just raise that afterwards if you like, Priya.
Sure. Cancerians have been through such a long transit of Pluto in their opposite sign. So
Right.
over the past 15 years for Cancerians, your relationships have totally been, transformed. I mean, for lack of a better word, but they've changed. How you relate with people has changed. What you want out of your relationships has changed. So with Pluto now in your eighth house, and you know, I think a lot for Cancer is now learning to let go of the things that I don't know why am I stumbling here, but I think like Cancerian relationships are really intensifying this year
Yeah.
in
I
a
think
way
it's
where they're asking you to trust on an even deeper level.
Yeah,
And
I agree. And I think there's a whole thing for Cancer as well, being like, because Pluto's is moving out of Capricorn right this year.
yeah,
Um, but it comes back again in
yeah,
September. And I
yes,
think, there's that sense for Cancerians. They're intuitive, right? So we pick up on things as Cancerians in advance. And sometimes that can cause us anxiety because it's like we have a
yeah,
sense of things coming. But
yeah,
there's a real I think a sense of sort of unfinished business and a chance for
yeah,
closure coming this year for Cancerians in terms of
right,
their relationships, like kind of drawing a line under certain things. And
right,
also, I think now it's the contrast of Pluto now moving into Aquarius is almost
right,
like, oh wow. Sometimes Cancerians are a funny bunch, aren't they? Because it's like they come across as being quite independent a lot of the time, and
yeah,
it's almost like a survival mechanism because they know really they're very very needy. Right on the
right,
inside. So I think that's really being highlighted now through Pluto. It's like Cancerians are looking at what it is that they need, and they're usually
right.
very good at putting the needs of others first. But in relationships
I
this year, I
think
think they're really going to need to look at actually what it is that they need, and feel sort of brave enough to be independent enough to get it for themselves.
And I will add now that as you were speaking, I realize it's a lot about your values, right? What do you
Mm,
value in life? And your values, I mean, you're being asked to let go of those superficial attachments to things and really look at your relationships and see if they're working for you. Are they giving back as much as you invest in them? So no one can have power over you unless you give it away, in a sense, right? So it's about Cancerians looking at where they're investing their energy, rather than, if you've been investing in a relationship that's going nowhere, then you've got to ask yourself,
Yeah,
what you're doing. And you will be asking yourself these questions now. So I think it's a reality check for Cancers in
I
a way.
agree. Totally agree. I think we had another question about Cancerians, and this is an interesting one as well, especially for I think for me and you, Priya, because I know we've spoken before, just about relationships and healthy relationships and like our
Yeah.
experience in terms of that and learning. So we've had a question here about a woman whose daughter, who is a Cancerian. So her daughter's a Cancerian, and she's just come out of, I think, she's put DFV, and I think that means like a domestic abuse situation, like in the UK we call it DV, so domestic violence, marriage. And she says, I'm afraid my daughter will have more of the same in years to come. Is this true? I have read that Cancerians will be victims of bullying for another 25 years. Can she protect herself? And straight away, I knew that me and you would be like,
no,
absolutely not. This is the kind of thing about astrology that just, like, makes us so passionate, I think, about what we do.
Exactly. Like, yes.
Okay, please don't believe everything that you read. And no, nobody is about to get 25 years of bullying at any point, no matter what the stars say. Like, that's not ever dictated by the stars, right? There is nothing. There's indicators sometimes of tough times, but ultimately, an abusive relationship, she's left this relationship by the sounds of this question. This woman said her daughter just got out, and her fear is that her daughter is going to face more, being more, a victim of further abuse.
You finish, and then I definitely want to add to that.
All I'll say, on that is that actually, once you're aware of that victim mentality, you have got the power to break it and to change it. Relationships which operate on this abusive dynamic in terms of a drama triangle, where you have to have a perpetrator and a victim and a savior often, and people rotate in these roles in abusive dynamics. And Cancerians,
this is Pluto.
Yeah, exactly. Like Pluto's breaking this, right?
Yeah.
I think there are some signs or placements definitely which indicate that people get sort of sucked into this dynamic easier, or they have a tendency to get into these situations, right? And Cancerians, because they care a lot about other people, so I kind of just want to address that. It's like, yes, but not every Cancerian is a victim of abuse, and they are absolutely not destined to be in a situation where they're in an abusive relationship for their entire lives. 100% not. No sign is, right?
No way. And so what I would like to add to that, for the lady who's listening, first of all, don't worry. I can imagine this is your daughter and you're afraid, but the fact, like Jemima said, it sounds like she's out of it. And if I give you, of course, I can give you all the, friendly advice, but that's not the point. If we just look at even the astrology, Pluto is about power. Pluto has been moving through her 7th house. So like Jemima said, she's been caught up in this victim-perpetrator dynamic. Now she's found the power to leave it. That's Pluto, right? So she's taken back her power. And over the next 20 years, as Pluto moves through Aquarius, that's a time for, it's a time of resurrection, really, for her, of her letting go of any control that other people have and taking back her power, is the way I would see it.
And agreed. Rebirth and freedom, 100%. Like
rebirth and freedom, into Aquarius. That's what it's about.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The power play in terms of an abusive relationship is like it tips, right? And it cycles. That's the pattern of abusive relationships, or like really unhealthy, toxic situations, is that it goes round in the cycle and then people get stuck. But the fact that this woman has left that, and she's broken that, that's the first step. And actually, it would, I think, take 25 more years. No, I don't see it. I really don't.
In fact, I would say over the next 20 years, just watch her, reclaim her power and just
Yeah.
rise and rise and rise,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
really free herself from this and put it behind her.
Yeah, agreed. So I'm glad that we got to answer that one, because I felt like, really,
Yeah.
yeah, just so passionate about this and about, people claiming healthy relationships for themselves and learning about
I will
themselves and how to
say
love
for her,
themselves.
and one thing is ask her to, this is my, message to her is ask her to let go of people's expectations of her.
Yeah,
It's just coming through really strong. Like, often people will stay in a relationship because they think that that's what's expected and you're not supposed to walk away. I mean, she's already walked away and this is abuse, so it's a whole different scenario. But it's a very, I'm saying this on a level of Pluto and Aquarius. It's very subtle that if she can let go of people's expectations and just focus on how she feels, it might be easier for her to make the transition.
yeah. But yeah, she's definitely not destined for a terrible
No,
25 years. No way.
no.
Um, so Leo, we've got a
Yeah.
question from a Leo as well. We'll move on to Leo and just talk
Yes.
about an overview. Sorry, I've just lost my notes. Give me a second.
Leo's got just year coming up for sure.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at Leo and love for Leo, I think Leos are actually going to get a chance to do something that they're very good for, and that's like really stand up for the right thing this year, and to speak up about what it is that they deserve, and to kind of make that happen for themselves this year. They've got a really good chance of that, I think. They've got Venus moving into Leo on the 11th of August. And
I
they,
mean,
I think, are going to get a big boost from this, the transits through Gemini as well, through Jupiter moving through Gemini. I think this is going to
oh yeah.
actually really be great for Leos,
I
and
mean,
to kind of keep them on their toes a bit, because it's like the changes that are going on for everybody. Leos love excitement. They thrive on it, right?
the
And
drama.
this year, there is change, there is excitement, and there is things happening and things shifting. And it's like Leo's going to thrive on that, I think, and it's going
Yeah.
to be good for their relationships in terms of new things to tackle together if they're in good relationships, and chances to kind of like spark new stuff, spark new
Yeah.
connections. They're going to get a lot of opportunity for this year, I think, for that.
Right. I mean, for so if so, Leo, I would like to add once Jupiter enters Gemini. If you're single and it's get out there, meet new people for sure. You'll make social connections. But also, what's happening for Leo right now? I mean, all Pluto is in Aquarius, and all these planets are moving through Aquarius, which is Leo's opposite sign. So Leo's relationships are very much in focus right now. And this new moon that we had yesterday was the new moon in Aquarius, so it's a new beginning for all of Leo's one-to-one relationships. So I would say for Leo, this is a big year in terms of your relationships. What's happening right now is you're moving through a filtering process, I would say, of looking at your connections really closely and seeing, what you want to keep and what you want to let go of. Doesn't mean that you need to cut any person out of your life, but you can take a step back from stuff that's unhealthy, just let go of trying to change other people or control other people. Just observe and then make your choices. So Leo's relationships are very much highlighted, and you'll be coming full circle with all of this stuff by the end of the year because Mars is going to go retrograde in Leo. So Leos are getting fired up this year for sure. And the relationships are firing them up because, that Pluto is there now. Especially early Leo birthdays, they're already feeling that Pluto opposite their sun. So a similar, going by what we spoke about with the Cancer topic, watch out for those power struggles, let go of power
Yeah.
struggles.
Yeah, don't get involved in the drama that's not going to propel you forwards. It's like sometimes
Right.
things happen and it's exciting, and Leos want to kind of jump on it, and it's great because it pushes them to make progress, and
Right.
to transform. But yeah, it's just about being able to differentiate between something which is kind of bogging you down and something which is going to bring you good things into your life, rather than kind of just bog you down into nonsense drama that doesn't go anywhere.
Exactly.
a question here about Leos. So the first one that we had is, I'll just read it to you.
Yeah.
We had a question from David, who says he is born on the 11th of August, actually. So Leo. And if I did find somebody to be with at 56, it would be great, but I don't think it will happen. But anyway, with my new job, I'll not have much chance to find anybody. So he sounds like he's busy, he's got a new job. And he's 56. Love doesn't have a time on it, I don't think, and he says he doesn't think it'll happen. I think actually he's going to be surprised this year. I don't know about you, but
surprised. And I will say this, it took me a long time to catch on, but manifestation is real.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, I don't think it's going to happen, say, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm open to
it. If something happens, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm ready. No? I'm ready for a surprise, for a good surprise. I'm ready to, that's it. It's about transforming your thought patterns and inviting and being grateful for things which are already on their way to you. Right. And that's how
and often we'll sometimes we don't want to be disappointed. So we'd rather not hope for something,
Yeah.
But then what we do is we go to the other extreme and we say, oh yeah, it's never going to happen for me. That way, at least I'll never be disappointed. But then we're also closing a door. So it's a tricky balance, but it's, trying to stay open and finding the things that you love and enjoy, because then you're kind of, even if you're working, doing whatever, you do want to find happiness, even if you don't want to find a partner, because ultimately no relationship is ever going to make you happy if you're not happy with yourself,
So true.
That love comes from within. We don't need love. We are love, right? We want to share the love we feel. We don't need another person to fill our cup. In fact, the whole point is that Leo is the sign of love. It speaks of love. It's the sign of the heart. So it's you just being yourself, being happy. Yeah.
I'm just getting a couple of little visits.
We have a little.
I'm so sorry, everybody. It's Saturday. Girls, thank you for joining us. Well, we're talking about love, but please, should we go find some other grown-ups? In 5 more minutes, darling. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. So I'm talking to the person who said you're 56 and may not find love. While Jemima's doing that, I will say, just stay open. You never know. You never know what could come about. And it's just a matter of being in that space of okay, you meet someone new, you meet someone interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And I wanted to go back to this question from Rob as well. So he's a Sagittarius. But he's saying he has a friend that they were in a mutually beneficial relationship. She has since fallen in love with me, and she's a Leo. And he says, I don't feel the same way. She is aware. Am I going to meet the right person? So we talked a bit about this, Sagittarius, yes, you are. But I think, the fact that this guy's asking, is she, she's kind of raised she's aware of it. I feel like he's a little bit worried. And I wouldn't worry too much. I feel like, this year she's a Leo. Things are going to be happening in a good way for her as well. It's I feel like this situation is going to be all right.
That Jupiter and Gemini for Sagittarians will bring those relationship choices, right? So for Sagittarius, very one way that it can manifest is you have a choice between two people, as literal as that.
Literally, exactly. Sometimes the most obvious is kind of that's what makes astrology so good. Is sometimes when you get a literal reading of something which has been purely symbolic, it kind of smacks you in the face and you think, oh yeah.
We're all going to be making some difficult choices, but we're going to have to communication is going to be important, right? With that Jupiter and Gemini.
Yeah.
So for Sagittarian, when it comes to your relationships, communication is really just important. And being honest with yourself first and foremost, then you can be honest with others.
Yeah, 100% exactly. And that's what it's all about for Leo this year. So we're going to move on to Virgo. Somebody's just asked if they've missed the forecast or predictions for Aquarius. No, you haven't, but we're going to have to try and speed up just a tiny bit.
Okay.
Because otherwise this is the problem. Me and Priya get together and we can talk. So
You can just sit and chat.
we just love to talk. Right. So we got we'll move on to talk a little bit about Virgo and what Virgos can expect this year. I'm just scooching back to my notes. But so Virgos, I think generally speaking in 2024 are really going to get a chance to like practice their own advice, like take some of their own advice. Virgos can be so wise and really great at kind of at diagnosing everybody else's issues.
Right.
But in terms of like what they need to do to get a real good dynamic and a good romantic situation for themselves, a lot of the time it's like they don't claim it for themselves. And I think this year actually there's quite a few planetary alignments which are like really going to push Virgos to answer that question for themselves in terms of like, what is it that you need? What is it that you actually need to prioritize now? And what advice would you be giving to somebody else? Because it's very easy, isn't it, to like, advise other people, but to take that advice. And if I think if Virgos can do that this year, they're going to be in a position to really strengthen their relationships.
Right. I will also have for Virgos, Saturn is currently in Pisces, which is your opposite sign. And Saturn's going to be there until next year. So you've got another good year of Saturn in Pisces. So since last year, Saturn's been in Pisces. And Virgos relationships, it's like, if you get into a relationship now, it will be a serious one. You're not looking for something casual at this moment in time, right? So it's a lot about you learning your boundaries in relationships and taking your time with people and not jumping in to save. Like that's a very Virgo thing. Very often they'll pick up, I hate to not pick up, but I wanted to say pick up strays. That sounds awful. That's not true. But they'll take care of people. They want to save people. They want to heal people. That's part of their nature, and it's important for them to be more discerning and have boundaries of who they let in and how much.
Absolutely. And I think also like to kind of sometimes Virgos have a bit of a tendency
to those energy vampires.
Yeah, exactly. Like they need to learn to avoid that, and also just to like really kind of believe that the good things are possible for them as well, because I think sometimes they put everything on a back bench for themselves in terms of relationships, and they put up with stuff that actually they wouldn't be comfortable with other people putting up with, right? And I think sometimes it's about like,
don't be afraid to say
no. Thing is challenging in terms of learning that lesson.
Like, don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to set the pace in your relationship. If you need more time, ask for it. If someone really cares for you, they'll respect you and respect you for it, right? For whatever you asked or for putting up a boundary. And sometimes, when we say, oh, people don't respect our boundaries, no, it's we don't respect our own boundaries.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We need to be able to like enforce our boundaries. So for Virgo, things are good. Relationships could be getting more serious and deeper, but then just make sure you're getting into the right relationships.
Yeah, exactly. And, don't go back to things that, sometimes it's like you have to kind of experience things that to know when it's time to let go of them, right? But it's like, just be a little bit wiser in terms of, don't go back to stuff that you know isn't going to make you feel good. If it's not making you feel good, that's a really good indicator that it's not the right thing. So it's like just tune into yourself. Like that's what Virgos tell me all the time. They're really good at, they actually do know all the answers. That's the thing. It's like they just need to learn to apply it to themselves and they'd be absolutely flying.
That's hilarious.
So Libra, what are we let's have a look at Libra. Okay.
So Libra is also, I think love is the big thing for Libra this year for sure.
Definitely. And they're also exiting this cardinal this whole Pluto aspecting all of their different areas. So they're really on that. I think all of the cardinal signs are getting this sense of like, oh,
Oof.
freedom's within
Yeah.
reach, you know, this real
Yeah.
kind of push of like, oh, okay, what, wow, that's like quite tantalizing in terms of
Yeah.
the horizon in front of them. And for Librans, you know, especially some Librans, I think more have this tendency than others, but the ones who really can't make a decision, who change their mind every it's like that can be really, I think, overwhelming when you feel suddenly too much choice is not
Right. It's
is not helpful,
paralyzing.
right? So
Yeah.
I think, you know, in terms of advice for Librans this year, yeah, I think you have got opportunities at your feet, you know, you've got freedom on your horizon, but don't get stuck into spinning in circles and ignoring the chances that you've got. You know, I think Libras are going to need to take a bit of a leap of faith this year, and
Right.
you know, trust that they are capable of getting
And
the
yeah.
right thing for them.
And Libra, you guys, even right now with all the planets in Aquarius, I think you're learning with Pluto in Aquarius now, it's about the mysteries of your heart, right? It's about the
Yeah,
mysteries of love. And you're slowly learning to unmask yourself, like, and understanding your heart on a deeper level. You're probably experiencing emotions and desires that you haven't felt before. And it's just again now really diving into your heart and asking yourself what you really want and what truly makes you happy, and then letting go of the rest. You know, it's not just about, because I mean Libra can be a bit of that social butterfly, right? Libra's so charming, Libra's a sign
yeah,
of relationships. Everybody wants to be with a Libra. Like, how hard is it to fall in love with a Libra?
yeah,
But
exactly.
I mean, and if you are already in a relationship, you can discover new aspects to yourself. But if you're just falling in love, again, you know, it's now you're learning the mysteries of love in your own heart in a whole different way.
Yeah, I think it's all but like there's chances this year as well for Librans to kind of get a bit more realistic about their relationships, you know. There's,
Good
especially
meet a
with all
tall,
everything
dark,
going on
mysterious
in
stranger.
April, it's like, you know, this is going to be these Uranus and Jupiter conjoining and everything. It's like that's really going to shift stuff up, you know, in terms of like
Yeah.
this opposite sign and Aries. There's a
I
lot
mean,
of
but the cliche of a tall, dark, mysterious stranger could very well be in the cards for Libra.
yeah, I agree with you, definitely. Okay,
Just
so
again, be careful. Not because you need to be, but just, yeah, be. I always say that.
but yeah, be careful. It's good
Like
advice.
healthy relationships. Don't
Exactly. Don't get like
take your time is all I'm saying. Yeah.
so for Scorpio is going to be one of these signs which is going to be you know, be hit by Pluto as well. It's a fixed sign, right? So we're gonna see um
Right.
some big things happening for Scorpio. So, you know, big changes, not immediately, not all this year, but it's like they're on that the threshold, I think, for some serious
Yeah.
big changes. And they're probably sensing that, you know, Scorpios pick up on stuff very, very quickly. Um, and, you know, obviously their ruling planet, Pluto, is moving into Aquarius. Like this is just indicative of huge shifts and
Huge
changes.
shifts. Yeah.
And in terms of relationships, you know, that's probably quite a scary place for some
Mm.
Scorpios to be, I think, this year.
Sure.
Just because in terms of change, like sometimes Scorpios have a tendency to kind of like retreat and shut down a bit and like numb themselves to
Yeah.
what, you know, the bigger feelings in order to protect themselves. And because there's so much of those big things going on this year, it's like that's a bit of a
Right.
risk, I think, for Scorpios. So how can they do that? It's like just take some time to engage with your emotions in a safe place, like carve out that time for yourselves where you need to retreat and to connect with the feelings so that you don't push people away, I think. You know,
Right.
I
mean,
think
and even for
that's my thing for
Scorpio,
Scorpios.
sorry, I didn't mean to
No, go
interrupt.
on.
I was going to say for Scorpio, Jupiter is currently in Taurus, right? And will be in Taurus until the end of May. So
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter is currently in your opposite sign. So your Scorpio relationships since May last year have been in focus with Jupiter. And for this first half of the year, they're definitely, pretty highlighted. And with Venus Pluto conjunction on the 17th, Scorpio's relationships are really heating up, but they're
Yeah,
being asked to like make some really uh, take some really time for deep introspection and ask yourself, like, what do you really want out of love and relationship and partnership? And that will mean letting go of some of the past and making room for what you want to invite into your world.
Yeah, agreed. And that's it. It's, this intensity is what Scorpio thrives under, the pressure of this intensity, right? That's coming this year. And I think, this is going to be good for them in lots of ways. But in terms of their relationships with others, it's like sometimes what they can cope with is not always what other people can cope with, depending on who they're in a partnership with. So, it's almost
how
like
you said about space for Taurus.
Yeah.
As well, it's space, but it's like letting someone in.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like opening up so you can allow somebody into your world, and like the inner parts of you that otherwise you tend to cocoon into, and how do you allow another person into that space with you? Do you feel
yes,
safe?
Exactly, that is it. You hit the nail on the head 100% there, Priya. That's it. It's like, make that space for you and any connection that you've got going on with somebody. You want to nurture that. It's like, you're going to have to engage with it and allow yourself to be a bit vulnerable. And, because sometimes it's like Scorpios are so good at coping that they kind of just go into that mode. And it's like, it's very hard to break out of that, I think, sometimes, especially when that intense pressure is going to keep going this year. So they need to really make that space for that partnership to be able to be nurtured, I think, and to not shut people out and to not shut themselves down.
Scorpios can definitely meet someone this year that they feel that level of safety and comfort and support with.
Yeah, because that's that need for a person, for that partnership, to meet that need of a Scorpio. Actually, that's going to be really highlighted, I think, through this year. So it's almost like they're going to know what kind of relationship they do need and how they need their partner to be with them. So this is, it's good. I think it's good in terms of having a healthy match there. We've talked a little bit, we've glossed into, I don't think we've got any direct questions about Scorpio. I'll just have a quick check. But if anybody has got one, just drop it into the question and answer section. The question and answer section. Okay. We'll move on to Sagittarius. We've talked a little bit about Sagittarius because we had. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I've read this wrong. Oh no, I haven't. This is a new one. Sorry, I haven't read it wrong. This is a new one I'm reading. Okay, so as a 65-year-old female Sagittarius, Pisces moon, and 5 point something degrees apart from Jupiter, my ascendant in Leo. Okay, do you think this is my year for finding a companion who truly wants to know me? Yes, I do, actually. And I'll tell you why. So Sagittarius, we've talked about this already, about how Jupiter moving into Gemini from May is going to be huge and exciting.
Yeah.
But Venus is there as well. So yes, opportunities are all there. But I think as well, like Jupiter and Gemini is about like belief, right? There's a whole thing about, what you can believe in. And you're saying, okay, who wants to know you? Okay, are you going to find a companion who truly wants to know you? Like you want to be accepted for your authentic self, right? That's how we all want to be loved, is as we truly are, not as like our rising sign or from, it's like that core. You want to feel accepted so you can truly, truly be yourself. And this is somebody, she's 65, she knows us, yourself, if you're 65, you know yourself well enough, and you obviously know yourself well enough to know that that's what you're looking for, is somebody to really accept you for you and who wants to know you. And yes, I think that opportunity is definitely going to come for you this year.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but one way that you can make that happen, what's coming to me is like, yourself, you want somebody to really get to know you. Maybe start by really getting to know someone else.
Oh, right? Yeah, okay.
Because then forget about them knowing you. The right person will continue on, like playing ball with you, right? They'll keep tossing the ball back in your court, and then you'll toss it in their court. It'll keep going back and forth. So you take your time in getting to know someone and see if you like what you're seeing. So that gives you some kind of agency and power, and not feeling like, oh, am I ever going to meet someone who wants to get to know me? Sure, you will. But first, at the same time, you try to get to know them so you know what you're getting into as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does make sense. I'm sorry, I'm being interrupted again. That's amazing. You look beautiful.
I mean, I started saying this earlier, but when Jupiter comes to your opposite sign, which happens once every 12 years, whatever your sign is, when Jupiter is in the sign opposite your sun, that's the time when we tend to meet significant others or significant relationships. So, absolutely, yes, for Sagittarians, there is a window. Not that the other signs don't have it, but Sagittarians absolutely have that window of meeting someone.
Yeah, I think there's really going to be like, yeah, totally window of
Meeting of
opportunity. And,
minds.
Sagittarians are the best at kind of, noticing those opportunities and seizing them as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's have a quick look at Aquarius. And I know we've got an Aquarius there asking
Oh, we
for.
missed Capricorn.
Oh gosh, I'm so that's me being distracted by my lovely Leo daughter who who just can't stop coming in to show me a various dressing up outfits. I'm so sorry. It's not very professional. I'm very sorry. Okay, so Capricorn. Capricorn, I think this year is the year that Capricorns get to like really make some choices. They've been kind of at that mercy of Pluto moving through their sign for such a long time.
Oh my gosh.
And really being like pushed into, okay, yep, another transformation. Like, yep, okay, here we go again with another challenge, another, opportunity to like rise to the occasion. And it's like that Capricorns are really good at that, right? But I think probably for a lot of them and in their relationships, there's been that gets pushed to the wayside quite easily, I think, for Capricorns as well, because it's like there's always something more important,
right?
Something else to focus on. So,
and they're always working as well. So
exactly, they're always
working. Is a big thing.
I can say my rising side's Capricorn as well, so it's like I can I can tease them a little bit. But yeah, sometimes I think if they're looking for love or connection, they find that hard because they treat it in the same way, almost like it becomes that consuming driving force, and it's like sometimes that can be intimidating, and it can stop love from just flourishing naturally, and that's it. Capricorns are gonna have a chance to make some choices this year, but also like they just need to be aware of the choices that they are making, and I think to just give things a bit of a chance. The good news is that I really think that they're going to feel better able to do that now that Pluto's shifting, and be able to kind of see things with a bit of fresh perspective and give things a bit of a chance, a bit of a new start for them. We've got somebody here, Capricorn. Oh, okay. Have you got any specific questions for Capricorn? You don't have to give your name or anything else, but if you've got anything that you really want to know, please feel free to kind of.
For Capricorn, what I will add is Jupiter is currently in Taurus and Domain, which is your 5th house, and the 5th house is all about love, and Jupiter expands things. So for Capricorn, like, use this time right now where you could be falling in love if you haven't met someone, but if not, then at least it's a time for you to find that joy in your heart, to connect with your inner child, to find the things that make you happy. And I love, first of all, some of my best friends are Capricorn women. I love Capricorn women. They're so funny and smart and ambitious and hardworking, and I'm a Taurus, so Capricorns just need to relax a little more. So whether or not you've met someone, the way for you to meet someone or invite in love or then renew love even in a relationship is just relax, take it slow, take it easy, take the day
100%. Definitely, like, connect with that 5th house, that's all about like what you enjoy, where you find that sense of passion and like excitement and relaxation and leisure and enjoyment. And Capricorns are really, really hard on themselves. It's hard to be in a relationship with a Capricorn, I think, so for their partners, because it's like that's what you want to tell a Capricorn to do. If you love a Capricorn, it's like you're always feeling like you want to tell them it's okay, just relax, it's all right, you're loved, you're cherished. And it's like it's great, for them to really get that in their relationships. It's like they have to give it to themselves first. It's like they have to kind of meet themselves on those terms and go, I'm going to give this joy to myself and choose it. And then
actually, that will make you twice as productive at work the next day. I mean, that's incentive for Capricorns. If you tell them they'll be more productive, they'll do it. But it's a trick, it's a trap.
Yeah.
I'm trapping you into having fun.
I love that. She's just said, so true.
No, you'll feel rested, you'll be inspired, you'll be happier.
Yeah. So, and fifth house is creativity as well. And I think, and it's like, just enjoy the process of love. Like Capricorns are very much focused on the end result a lot of the time. And this year, actually, there is a chance for them to kind of just give themselves a chance to experience things how like the rest of the lower people of the world like actually just kind of go and see what the common people do, see if maybe you do enjoy some of this stuff, because you might. And it might just open some doors for you. So I think that's but I think Capricorns are going to get a real breath of fresh air this year, generally speaking.
It's a very indulgent year. I think you should make the most of it.
Agreed. Okay, so Aquarius. We've got
all the
Aquarius. Aquarius is going to have like a real, I think, journey this year in terms of like their relationships. Like it has to be, and if you know any Capricorns, Aquarians, speak to them about what the last 15 years have been like, just to kind of get a little bit of that wisdom. They'll be able to give you some pointers, I think, in terms of the intensity of having Pluto kind of go through your sign and really hit up every single part of your life. It's like, that's intense. And it's nothing that Aquarians can't handle, actually. But it is going to be a chance for them to reevaluate their relationships, right? And how they meet people, how they work through things. And, changes are going to come. And it's like, they're going to have a much easier time with that, I think, Aquarians, if they can let go a little bit this year, and not be too stuck on what they think the right answer is going to be, because I think they're probably in for some pretty good surprises. We've got they're in terms of like Uranus and what Uranus is doing. Uranus is Aquarius is modern ruler, so it's like I feel like I'm trying so hard to say it in a nice way, but like Aquarians are gonna have some situations where that rug feels like it's being tugged, and it's like, okay, so how do you kind of cope with that situation? Well, the best way is, I think, to kind of just let yourself fall in love and out of it. If that's what needs to happen, it's going to happen this year. So it's like, let go, let it, the more flexible you can be, the less everything hurts, right? It's like, and I don't want to tell you're going to get hurt, but Aquarius is going to have some things to navigate.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that Jupiter, like for Aquarians, like this, all the planets moving, Pluto's in your sign, all the planets moving through Aquarius right now, Venus, Mars, it's like your desires, you're becoming aware. Like Aquarians like to play it cool, right? They come across as so cool and detached and like nothing phases them. But now with all these planets, there's powerful desires and emotions awakening within you, which you're going to have to find a way to express and channel them. Once Jupiter enters Gemini at the end of May, that's your fifth house. That's the house of love and romance and fun. So starting the end of May, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to be out there and, falling in love, maybe meeting someone new, maybe rediscovering love within an existing connection, maybe just rediscovering your love for life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like Aquarians are going to have what they really need this year is going to happen for them, because as much as it's going to be tough for them, they are getting that independence and that freedom, and they're getting empowered through it. Like Pluto's moving into their sign. This is big stuff. It's going to give them, real impact. and that's good. That's exciting stuff. And it means that, yeah, if they can seize on that, they're going to be able to really transform their relationships into ones that really work for them,
Right.
right?
Because
And if
you're
they
dropping the
don't,
mask, Aquarius. Aquarius is kind of
yeah,
like dropping the mask. It's like, this is who I am, love me or leave me. But it begins with self-acceptance, Aquarius. Like, accept yourself, love yourself, even the things that you think are weird or quirky. Just, you are who you are. Love it, all of it,
yeah,
just embrace it.
absolutely.
Then,
And they're going to attract that back in. I feel like they're really in the spotlight, Aquarians, this year. I feel like they're going to
sure.
attract a lot of that back in. So the more, it's about confidence as well. They're going to get a boost of confidence this year, which is going to be good for them, I think. Sometimes they can be really hypercritical, Aquarians, of themselves. Like, it goes both ways. And I think it's like they come across as really not caring about stuff. And sometimes it's really because the rest of the stuff in their chart, sits quite at odds with an Aquarian sun, and they can really feel that disjointedness, I think, in a way that makes them feel vulnerable. And Aquarians do not like feeling vulnerable, right?
No.
So it's like, like, lean into it and it's going to be okay. Just once you accept that you are a human being and you do have these feelings and you do have needs still, you can actually get them met. And you're going to find that this year that things are going to really start happening.
And Aquarians, I'll add this and we'll get to Pisces, but it's not that they're people pleasers, but they like everyone to be happy, right?
Yeah.
So now you can't make everyone happy. You'll never please everybody. There'll always be one person in this world who will have something to say about, why
Exactly.
what you're doing is not right. So ultimately, you've got to like yourself.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
like
it.
dropping that mask and weight of other people's expectations and just like, okay, this is me, and then when you get to the real you, then someone else can see the real you. It's being that vulnerable again, like Jemima said. You don't like it, but only in that can you really attract the love that you want.
Exactly. And this is what you deserve as well, like Aquarians are
You're beautiful.
very,
You're a diamond.
yeah, and they have a really good way of like keeping things at arm's length sometimes. And I just feel like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things going on in terms of the planet's movements this year that is going to intensify things. And that's the challenge. That's what's going on for you in terms of, but you can rise to that and you can go, you know what, actually I can accept myself and change just a little bit, enough to kind of let myself be loved. And I think they're going to find
Right.
joy from that. So I do think it looks good for Aquarians this year as well. Okay, so Pisces, let's have a look at Pisces. So we've got Pisces still have Saturn in their sign, and I think Pisces are really feeling this. Every Pisces I speak to is like really going through the ringer in some
right
way, and they have been for a while, and we know that this is not going to end for them. But it's like, I think, ultimately Pisces are able to navigate this because they're so fluid, right? They are changing. And they're kind of, I think, in that rhythm of it now as well. It's like they're really going through that major shift of Saturn kind of bringing in some structure to contain things for them in the world. And yeah, so it's not just like more of the same. Someone asked me that at the beginning of the year for Pisces. They're like, oh, so it's just more of this. I was like, no, it's not. There's good things coming for Pisceans this year. Like, let's look at it, right?
I mean, I feel for Pisces, yes, that Saturn influence is so prominent right now. Like, they're having to grow up, face a few realities. Life is not all. Pisces tend to see the world through those rose-tinted glasses. And right now with Saturn there, it's like you're having to take those glasses off and really take a hard look at your life and yourself.
And I think that's caused a lot of Pisceans to like really become quite doubtful. I feel like there's a lot of doubt in them. They're kind of like second guessing things and their outlook and everything else, which is understandable. Like, that makes sense, right, in terms of what's going on. But actually there's a lot of reason to be hopeful for Pisceans this year, especially in terms of like romance. There is still going to be opportunity for romance. There's still going to be good things happening for you.
So what's happening with Pisces for romance? With Scorpio, hold on,
we've got I think for Pisces
has
well,
got a few secret admirers for sure.
Yes.
Pisces has a few secret admirers. 100%.
Definitely. And I think they're going to become known, right? You know, you look at
Yes.
Jupiter is Pisces traditional ruler, and Jupiter moving into Gemini is like
Yes.
Gemini communicates, right? Jupiter moving into Gemini. It's like these are opportunities making themselves known to you, admirers making themselves known to you, giving you a bit of an ego boost, and you know that's you're going to be able to hear that message. Those messages are going to start coming in and be like, okay, yes, you are, you know, that
And
love's
yeah,
waiting for Pisces, and I think it's going to start making itself a bit more obvious this year.
and
Which
if you've been holding a candle for someone in secret, you know,
yes,
that could be another way this plays out. But I feel like, by later this year, it's going to be harder to keep those things swept under the rug. You're
yeah,
not going to be
agreed.
able to like hold it in. You're going to have to address this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like Neptune is throwing some moves with Venus this year as well. There's
Yeah.
I think there's a Neptune and Venus conjunction in April, um, which I think is going to be pretty nice.
Yeah, and I think that the April Jupiter Uranus conjunction is going to bring some revelations for Pisces as well. Like maybe about, certainly could be about love, but there's going to be a few, like, okay, what do I really want?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like there's I think you know this the Jupiter Uranus. I mentioned this before you joined, Priya, but the
Yeah,
Jupiter Uranus conjunction is really going to like clarify things for a lot of people. And you know,
yeah,
Pisces can get really lost in the
yeah,
kind of cloudy waters of love and romance, and they can kind of con themselves. They
yeah,
can really sink
yeah.
into like I don't want to say that Pisces are deluded, because they're not. They're really not. They're wise and brilliant,
They're
but
brilliant. Yeah,
sometimes it's like they need things clearing up for them so that they can really let that wisdom out, and this is one
yeah,
of those moments where Uranus and Jupiter are going to kind of show you exactly what is
yeah.
going on. It's like a flash of clarity, and that's what Pisces needs in order to actually start really kind of empowering themselves, because sometimes they can kind of take a back seat and be swept along with other people's things, and in
Right,
relationships, like that's not healthy. It can create a bit of
right,
an unhealthy dynamic, and when they can see things kind of laid bare, actually they get a chance to really thrive and go choose what it is that they want to move
right.
towards, and choose what it is that they're going to accept into their world, and to like claim for themselves. And
And I
Saturn in
think
Pisces is giving them that opportunity as well, because it's like it's going to push them, I think, in terms of like,
yeah,
yeah, okay, actually
Saturn
you need to
Pisces
get
is
real.
teaching, yeah, get real, teaching you to say no. And I think your Pisces is also becoming aware of a lot of their unconscious, subconscious patterns, which is kind of what Jemima just said. It's like, there's a lot of things that happen unconsciously for Pisces.
Right.
So now you're
Exactly.
becoming aware of your own patterns and subconscious stuff and stuff that, oh, this is how I feel. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And when you know better, you know yourself better, you do better, you can be in control. And like Pisces is very, sometimes they need a bit of that. They need a bit more a bit more possession of themselves in terms of relationships, because we don't want Pisces to get taken advantage of, right? It's like they've got so much
Right,
love, and sometimes they need a little bit of a push towards that.
right.
We've had a Pisces just say, Pisces here last year was a pig, please tell me this year is better.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, yes, it'll be better.
It will be better, it's going to be better, you're
No,
going to
that
choose.
didn't sound convincing. It will be better.
No, you know what? Like, this is the year that Pisces gets to choose that it is going to be better for them.
Yes.
It's about like
Yes.
breaking free from that thing of being like, oh, this year is on me and it's hard and it's rubbish,
Yes.
right? Actually, Pisces, you're going to get lots of moments this year to choose that you decide that your year is going to be better. You decide what you
Yes.
let in, you decide how your relationships are going to be. And like, you get to make things more on your own terms, which is
Right.
scary, I think, for Pisceans, because it's not necessarily like their natural state of being, but it is good for them even so, and I think that's it. It's about like noticing those moments where the world's giving you a bit of a push and a moment to say, hey, actually stand up for yourself and just go, no, this is not what I want. This is not meeting my needs. It's not giving me joy, and to step away from anything that's not. So
And this is actually wise advice for everyone, I think, which is astrology. It's true. At the end of the day, life is happening for us, it's not happening to us. And this astrology is always something that we can work with. Like the same aspect can make someone happy and make someone sad. Why is that?
yeah.
Like, if it was just the astrology, then we'd all be happy at the same time and we'll all be sad at the same time. But it's not like that.
No, and that's even beyond like our own personal charts and
Right.
our own personal like transits. It's what you make of it, right? And it's about having that knowledge. Astrology's the best thing about astrology is the knowledge it can give you about yourself, right? And that that self-love, because if you can accept yourself and love yourself, you're going to attract love back towards you, and you are going to thrive in relationships, and you're going to have relationships which really fulfill you and meet your needs, because you have already set the terms, because of how your relationship that you have with yourself. That's the most important thing.
That's the most important one. And
100%.
one thing I will say before, I mean, not necessarily end, but on the 22nd of February, we have a Venus and Mars conjunction coming up.
Yes.
That hasn't happened since March 2022, like 2022. So 2 years ago. This is on the 22nd of February, the conjunction, Venus-Mars conjunction. It's a reset. It's a reset for all of us, for our relationships. And anytime Venus and Mars come together in the sky, yes, relationships are highlighted, but this conjunction, I mean, I have it natally. I can tell you it's more of an internal, it's more of an internal aspect than an external one, right? Where we look at that primary relationship we have with ourselves. And that really is the core, like Jemima said, of attracting every other relationship. Like if I'm always thinking negatively about myself, then I'm going to attract people who mirror that to me, right? But if I've learned to love myself, I'm being kinder to myself. Next time someone shows up who's not being so kind to me, I can just draw a boundary. It's not about me judging the other person to be good or bad. It's just being like, no, I don't need to be treated this way.
Absolutely. That's it. You can't know what you need from a relationship unless you know yourself well enough to really kind of explore that with yourself. And it's kind of a hard thing to do, because we all carry so much baggage from our life. Like no adult hasn't, you speak to anybody and they've all got that history of moments where they felt rejected, or moments where they really, had a battle or a hard time to go through. And it's like you just have to explore that with yourself first and get yourself to a point, and it's an ongoing process. Like we're a work in progress all the time, right?
That's what life is about.
Yeah. So hopefully that's been helpful for everybody. If you have any more questions, please drop them in the question and answer section. I can't say that word today, obviously. If you've got any other questions, we missed anything, shout up. And if not, we would love to see you next time we do one of these. We'll let you know.
Yeah, and if anybody wants, our email should be there. If anyone wants a consultation, please write to me.
Absolutely. All of our details are on the Eventbrite link, so you can see Priya's site, Cosmic Diaries. You can access bookings directly with you, Priya, on there. Is that right?
Yeah, my bookings are on there, or you can just email me and I'll send you a link, whatever. But yeah, I would love to work with you if anyone's interested in a consultation. But of course, check out my website too, cosmicdiaries.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming. And we wish you so much love in 2024 and prosperity and peace and a sense of general good vibes.
And lots of joy.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. And hopefully we'll see you again next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.